I'll just blame it on the weather.
Yes, of
Oh, man.
course.
Shoot, man. So how long have you been in the Creve Coeur area? Because you seem like you're pretty established, like, boom, Garrett, Captain
Well,
Creve Coeur. Like, what?
No. Creve Coeur. So Creve Coeur's just for this business.
Okay, got it.
The Farmers Agency and Vimedia, the full-service digital marketing agency I own, that's based out of Chesterfield. But I've lived in the greater St. Louis area, mainly St. Louis County, for most of my life. I was raised in Eureka,
Oh, cool.
right by Six Flags,
Okay.
which is the only way anyone knows that town. And then when I moved out, I think I moved out at like 20 or 21 and moved downtown. So I lived downtown for 3 years.
Okay.
And that was a good time. But then I moved to Richmond Heights, and then I moved to where I'm at now, which is Sunset Hills.
Okay.
So, and
Yeah,
I like it.
It is good. It's a good area. I remember, I think we were talking on the phone a while back where you and I are practically neighbors because I'm in High Ridge, which is like fairly close to.
Yeah, you just hop on 30, zoom down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's pretty cool, man. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was commenting about how small and how tightly knit everybody in St. Louis is. Like, everybody's 2 degrees separated from everybody else.
It's a small, big city, man.
It is.
You know, one person, like 30 people off that one person.
We're all like 2 degrees separated from each other.
That's exactly
we don't
right.
need we don't need 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. We can just
No.
yeah, awesome, man. Very cool. All right. Well, so what do you got going on this weekend? You got any cool stuff going on, or?
Just work. At Vimedia right now, the marketing agency, we are focused on processes and setting goals. 2020 was a screwball of a year with everything going on. For us, it was good. Obviously, the global impact in many ways, economically, health-wise, and infrastructure, huge wake-up call for the world. But for digital marketing, sure, we lost one of our biggest clients, lost one of our smallest clients, but overall we came out on top because a lot of business owners realized that they needed to pivot their current marketing strategies over to digital because traditional forms of advertising were not as effective during the pandemic.
Right.
That being said, because 2020 was such a screwball of a year for businesses, we're a little late to the game on getting, I won't say late to the game, but we're re-strategizing during 2021 what we're going to do in 2021, whereas usually we come up with a strategy the year before and then implement it the year after, and we're ahead of the 8 ball, but things are changing at a very rapid pace. 1 second the world was on fire, the next second we hear the vaccine's going to be rolled out, then we hear it's going to take a long time, and all these things affect small, medium, and large enterprises. So,
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, there's just on the IT side of things, where I'm playing around, there's been just significant changes, and how that's looked over the last year, with everybody going remote, everybody being open to the idea of maybe we can work with people that are like not right here co-located with us.
yeah.
Maybe we can access people across the entire U.S. Maybe we can access people that are overseas. Amazing. And there are like just pools of people waiting to help. And it's like, y'all could have done this like 5 years ago when I first started the business. Would have made my life a
100%.
ton easier. Like, oh my goodness. So I've got a dumb question. So I've never
Sure.
been in like an official podcast studio before. So this is like a meta question, but are we recording right now? Oh, we are. Okay, thumbs up.
Yeah, we're good.
There we go. Man, this is almost like Two Bears, One Cave when they're just like in the middle of something and, oh, hey, we're recording.
Well, you got the candid conversation you wanted.
I'm like, do we keep talking
It was
about
so candid
stuff?
that you didn't even know it was happening.
I didn't even know. I kept glancing over there and I'm like, I want to keep eye contact. All right, thumbs up, ready to go. Well, somebody was just, because I'm a podcast host myself, but I'm kind of doing things on a bootstrap.
Sure.
And this is like my very first, like, honest to God, like this is you've got sound baffles on the wall and stuff, and it's official. And
Thanks, man.
it's awesome, man. Well, I do my stuff out of I do it in the back seat of a pickup truck, and I had somebody refer to it
Yeah, I
as,
think you were telling me that.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Somebody referred to it as Studio 150, and I said, and I'm like, what is he talking
Is
about?
it
I
a
don't-
Ford F-150?
It is.
Okay, that
It
makes
is.
sense.
And I'm like, I don't get it. It took me a minute because it was, after 8 p.m. and I'm like, I don't get it. Studio 150. So don't steal that.
I will not steal that.
I want that.
I'm
right?
gonna get a Ford F350 and have Studio 350.
Studio 350.
Oh, 3 up, yeah.
Oh man. Well, maybe if it's 150, then the SEO will rank higher because alphabetical is first. There we go. Well, awesome, man. I'm glad to get the chance to chat with you today. I know we talked at length on the phone, and I'm like, I got to get with this guy. He's freaking awesome. And now I get the chance like, right here. And we're within 6 feet of each other. So I won't cough on you. I'm fine.
Yeah, please don't.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to marketing and stuff, I always get a chance or love to get a chance to talk with people that are just up to their armpits or eyeballs, as it were, in the marketing space. Because I'm a marketer by necessity, not by choice. I'm a solopreneur kind of myself. I've got a partnership, but for the longest time, I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I market? How do I sell?
Sure.
You know, so this has just been a really neat way to get in touch with other marketers and find out like what the heck, how do you market and learn some cool things from me. So, so tell me about what your company does. I know we talked about you got like 73 different operations going on here, but the most markety ones.
Yeah. So the main one is VIE Media, VIE Media, and that's a full-service digital marketing agency. It's headquartered right here in St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States.
Okay.
Won a few awards. 2019, 2020, we won Best Marketing Firm from Small Business Monthly, St. Louis. There's lots of companies that give out awards, but there's probably only 2 or 3 here in St. Louis that give out awards that actually matter. That's one of them, so we're proud of that. But we focus on search engine optimization, SEO, Google, PPC, pay-per-click, paid social media ads, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it. And then web page design, high-end videography, which usually is a byproduct of signing a client up for, signing up for social media ads. Usually videography is a byproduct of that because, of course, they want good content coupled with those social media ads, which is usually video. Video is king. And then, let's see, what else? Oh, branding, of course. Logo design, marketing assets. If you're in a restaurant, you see a flyer on it, or not a flyer, but a trifold on a table that's showing offers or food or drinks they have. Even stuff like that, not just for restaurants, though, for businesses of all kinds. But those are our main services. Probably left a few out, but we really focus on return on investment advertising, ROI, because at the end of the day, as a business owner, you said you're one yourself, if you're going to spend money on advertising, what's the number one thing you want to know? You want to know that you're going to make money when you spend money. Right. So making sure that when someone spends $1, they're making $17.50 off every dollar spent, or at least getting an ROI of some sort. That's the big thing there, and that's our main focus. There's some services we offer where that's not the focus, such as branding. Logos will, in a roundabout way, get you a higher ROI on other forms of advertising if you have a shit logo, right, and you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on paid ads. You're going to get more if your brand looks better. But directly, you're not making any more money if you do a logo,
right,
for example.
Well, I'm curious. Well, I guess first I have you to blame for why I keep spending so much of my budget on mozzarella cheese sticks at Applebee's, because you've got the trifold thing. It's like, oh, those do look good. I'm going to get some. Yeah, so it's your fault, man. Well, I'm kind of curious then, trying to figure out the ROI on stuff like marketing activity has always been tricky. And, I mean, it's not just marketing. It's all kinds of sectors. But just talking solely about marketing, how do you get those numbers for people? Is it just historical data, or is it no, we've proven we have a system where you get $17.23.333 repeating cents for every dollar you spent, right? How do you do that?
Two-pronged answer.
Okay.
So one is that there's no guarantees in marketing. If you pay my company, I guarantee we're going to keep working on, if you pay my company to do a logo, I guarantee we're going to keep working on the logo until you're happy.
Right.
But when it comes to providing a return on investment, when someone signs up for search engine optimization or Google pay-per-click, paid social media ads, not once do I ever utter the word, I guarantee you're going to get a return on investment. And the return on investment varies per industry, per client, based on how much they spend, which industry they reside in. and many other variables. But the other answer to that question is how we track that, right? Because lots of marketing companies, they do marketing, but they don't really provide. They may provide vanity metrics, such as this is how many impressions we drove to your website. This is how many people are seeing your social media content. That's all fun and games. If you can get me 1 million impressions, that sounds great.
Right.
But at the end of the day, did that make me any money?
Right.
Because you spend $10,000 a month on advertising, $1,000, even $10 a month on advertising. You're getting 1 million impressions. That sounds good, but if you didn't make any money, you're probably not going to do it forever. Right. So what we figured out that a lot of marketing companies just simply don't take the time to do, are scared of doing, because marketing companies, lots of them, they're scared to track that stuff, because if they don't provide a return on investment and they're tracking that, the client's not going to want to stay with them.
Right.
So we're all about transparency at Vive Media. So making sure that we use a combination of third-party softwares that quite literally cooperate with their internal CRM, their customer relationship management software. So if you own a roofing company, for example, and we're generating you 23 leads a week through Google pay-per-click, and we're tracking that using a combination of third-party softwares, usually Google Analytics, Google Data Studio, Google Tag Manager, and some other ones that I won't reveal because that's part of our secret sauce.
Yeah.
But basically, we're able to see how many form fills you got, what their contact information is, what their names are, where they came from, and a bunch of other data. And as well as the phone calls, we're able to have all the phone calls from the leads we're generating the roofing company recorded. That way you can see where the drop-off's happening. Is it our fault that the leads are bad because they're just not qualified leads? Is it their fault because the receptionist is kind of moody? So on and so forth. But taking it a step further, generating leads is great, and being able to show that we're generating leads is only half the battle. Making sure that those leads are resulting in closed business is what matters. And how much money are those deals selling for? Just because I'm generating 50 leads a month for a company and they're all resulting in closed business, if it's less than how much they're spending on advertising, they're still not getting the return on investment they're desiring. They're losing money. So we're actually able to cooperate with their internal CRM, with our external CRM, our proprietary software we use, and we're able to say, okay, we generated 23 leads for you this past week. 10 of them were phone calls. 13 of them were form fills. These ones closed. This is how much they closed for. That is how we're able to see in black and white. Did you make your money back and then some on our advertising or not?
Okay, solid. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a handoff of sorts between marketing and sales.
Always.
Because once you get the word out about, hey, we got this awesome service, or we can do this thing for you, we got this product, okay, great. Now you have to sell it to them once you find the interest. And I think that's where some companies fall down.
Definitely.
And, they kind of conflate the two, where they're like, oh yeah, marketing and sales are just kind of interchangeable. No, they are not.
No.
I learned that just recently within the last year. I'm like, mind blowing. Marketing and sales is not the same.
Not at all.
But it makes it a lot clearer now.
One generates the leads, one closes the leads.
Yep.
Big difference.
Got an opener and a closer. So, well, how did you personally get started in marketing? Like, did you always want to be a marketer when you grew up?
No. What did I want to be?
I don't know.
I don't even know if I knew.
Yeah.
I was in high school. I didn't care about high school. I was having a good time with friends, hanging out.
Yeah.
Trying to flirt with girls, that's about it. And then
sounds like me, man. Reading my playbook.
Yeah, and then I think I had a really shitty experience and was not exposed to the opportunities that I'm taking now in life when I was in high school. But in high school, one big thing did happen that put me on the track of what got me to where I am now, which is at 17, I started doing door-to-door sales for a company called Midtown Home Improvements out of O'Fallon, Missouri. Right. And so I did that for on and off for 3 years, from 17 to 20. And I really, really, really enjoyed that. And that's where I learned sales. And each step in my journey taught me something new that led to where I'm at now. You know, lots of failures, lots of success, but no macro failures, no macro successes up until when I started my first company. All micro failures that taught me lessons that allowed me to get to where I'm at now. And but starting door to door, that taught me sales. After that, I sold cars, thought that was going to be the epitome of a business person for some reason. Definitely was not. And I definitely don't care about cars enough. Having a nice car would be cool, but besides that, I could give a shit less about vehicles.
Yeah.
But I sold cars. I was good at it. That only lasted for 6 months. Went to community college for all of 3 months. It went so well that I dropped out. And after that, I started working for startup companies.
Okay.
Worked in credit repair, a credit repair startup company. That's where I learned inside sales, because at door-to-door and car sales, I learned how to sell in high-pressure situations and consulting situations. But at the startup credit repair company, I learned how to sell on the phone. So that's what brought sales full circle and allowed me to learn sales, not all about sales, but the main types of sales. Door-to-door is that high-pressure, old-school, definitely not appropriate or forward-thinking way of selling. Then you have car sales, which lots of car salesmen are also not great salesmen. They may close a lot of deals, but they're not consultative selling. I was a consultative seller. I tried to hook people up with the car that fit their needs, not the car that was going to net me the most cash.
Right.
And that helped me sell more cars. Then inside sales taught me how to sell over the phone. And it being a startup company, I was in a startup company, you hear a lot of things that you normally would not hear in a large Fortune 500 company, for example. In a Fortune 500 company, most likely you're never going to hear the owners of the company talk about the specifics of the company's operations day to day, how they thought things were going, the good things and the bad things happening in the company, and lots of other facets of the business. However, at a startup company, you do get exposed to that, which started opening up my brain to how companies operated and how they got started, which I found that extremely interesting. And that was when I got exposed to business for the first time, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
After that, I pivoted and you leveraged my and credit repair companies. They partner with mortgage companies because mortgage companies can give credit repair companies leads, right? Because someone goes for a mortgage, they get turned down because their credit's ass. They get turned down, they go to the credit repair company, right? So then that's how I met a bunch of mortgage guys, became friends with top producing mortgage professionals, ended up getting a job at a mortgage company. More money there. So I was like, okay, sounds fun. Got involved in mortgage. Just could not pass the mortgage license test to save my life. Great test takers. The only reason I passed high school, because I sure as hell didn't do homework. But that being said, just could not pass the mortgage test, save my life. So even though I was a top producing salesperson at past jobs, because I couldn't pass the test, I didn't become a mortgage loan originator. So what I did instead is I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out a way to fit in here somehow. So I was friends with lots of the top producers at the mortgage companies that I worked at, because I worked at a few, because I job hopped like nobody's business, to where I basically committed resume suicide for a period of time. To me, I knew exactly what I was doing. I was trying to learn everything that I needed to learn to start a business, but to everyone else, they're like, this guy's changing his job on LinkedIn every couple weeks.
He's toxic, don't hire him.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I was good enough in job interviews. It worked out. So bottom line is, I digress. I became friends with top producing mortgage sales professionals. And I was like, I have to figure out a way to fit in here, otherwise I'm out of a job. So social media management and marketing, and figuring out how to make the mortgage companies that I worked at look better on social media and their online presence in general. That's when I first got exposed to marketing. And it was very amateur forms of advice that I gave, but it was good enough to keep me on board.
Yeah.
So I worked at a few mortgage companies. I learned about the mortgage industry, learned a little bit more about credit. learned some about real estate, because just like credit repair guys need leads from mortgage guys need leads from real estate people, because unfortunately that industry is ass backwards, where consumers, me and you, when we want a house, we go to a real estate person, when in reality we should check our credit, see if we can get a mortgage in the first place, then hit up the real estate agent. Unfortunately, consumers go to the real estate agent first. So real estate agents hold all the leverage. That being said, after the mortgage companies and my job hopping bonanza there, I started working for a startup company again. And at this point, I knew that I liked sales, I liked business. I knew just enough about starting a business to be dangerous from working at now 2 startup companies. And I started doing director of marketing and sales for a startup company.
Okay.
And that was a tech company. Had a good time. Unfortunately, it was also revolving around cars.
Yeah.
So, but at this point, I was just trying to figure out the right people to start a company with. And all my friends were in college, wrapping up. So they're like, Aaron, I'm probably going to graduate. It's been 3.5 years, so I'm going to stick with this for now. And so it was just me. And I was like 22, 23 at the time when I wanted to start the company. So most people older than me, because I was extremely young, just were not interested at the time. So I struck out on my own. I ended up going to mortgage professionals, actually, that I had built relationships with in the past over this conversation I've been explaining here, and sold them on allowing me to handle their personal brand. And personal branding was not big. Right now it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's building their personal brand. You're doing it right now. I'm doing it right now.
Is that what this is? Oh,
That's
my
what
goodness.
this is. So that being the case, it was in its infancy. And so I came up with the bright idea just around the same time that Gary Vaynerchuk was starting to talk about it, if you know who that is. And I started selling them on building their personal brand on social media and posting for them on a monthly or on a daily basis on social media.
Right.
Wasn't very good work, admittedly, but I was just starting out. And I hadn't started the company yet. This was just on the side. Eventually, I sold a few, and then I sold a whole mortgage company to allow me to help them with the rebrand and to post for them on social media. And then I was like, okay, I have enough money. I stopped working my job, started Vimedia outside of a Starbucks on October 11th of 2016. Was still an amateur for the first probably year and a half. But I think I hired someone about 2 months in, my next person about 6 months in, got my first office 6 months in, expanded the 2 offices within the same building because it was like a corporate executive suite office. Right. And got 2 offices about 8 months in, and then moved to my own building and then expanded the 2, and the rest is history, and got better at it over time. So that's kind of the very long answer to that question.
No, but it's a really great answer, because I think too often we don't look back at our own history and be like, well, how the heck did I get here?
Yeah.
And everybody's got a history. Everybody's got a heritage. Like you've got sales and marketing and business just kind of like built into you from the ground up. And there are likely some things that you learned back then that you didn't realize, like, well, why was I in that situation? And now it's like, I can look back and see, man, oh man, that was freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, there's a lot more to it. I could have been, 20 times as long, but that's the gist of it.
Well, I got to get home for dinner sometime tonight, man. My wife will be like, it is 11:30 p.m. Friday. Where is he? And today's Thursday. There's something that you said. You mentioned this term, micro failures and macro failures. Mm-hmm. Or was it failures or something else?
Failures and successes, but
okay.
Yes.
All right. So you're the first person I've ever heard that's used that particular term. Like, yeah, we're always going to fail. We're going to fail. But I've never heard anybody like categorize failures in terms of like little bitty ones that aren't going to be the end of the world, and big ones like, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. Right. Like how do you try to maybe get, and this is me picking your brain right now.
Sure.
How do you try to engineer your life to say, okay, I want to break this this macro failure and de-risk it enough so that now there's a bunch of little micro failures?
Well, I think this is a subjective way of looking at things, but not really at the same time. To me, committing resume suicide for me from 19 or 20 to about when I started Vimedia, for me was a bunch of micro failures because I was committing resume suicide by job hopping too much. Mm-hmm. But these micro failures were actually lessons. And to me, I had a strategy behind it because I was working at all these companies for very purposeful and specific reasons to learn lessons that would attribute to my macro success with starting my own company and having it succeed. So another example, though, would be if one that may or may not be applicable to my own journey would be if you let's say you have your own company or you're a sales representative for someone else's company, and you just fuck up a deal. You were about to close it. You said the wrong thing. It was a big deal. Could have changed your life. That kind of deal.
Right.
Tripled your income, whatever, and it resulted in you having to sell your house or whatever. Seems like a pretty big failure, but that's not a macro failure. A big failure that is quite literally going to alter the course of your life forever. That's what I would define as a macro failure, and I try not to define anything as that. But there are some out there, but that's a micro failure because after all, it's a lesson, and that's what failures are. Failures are really just lessons that allow you, so long as you determine, hey, I'm going to learn from this and improve because of it, it's a micro failure that serves as a lesson to improve upon yourself and become a better individual in whatever that failure had to do with. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, man. And I love how you explain that because my wife and I, we have 4 little girls, ages 10, 9, 6, and 4. I'm going to have to rememorize their ages again because we're getting a bunch of birthdays coming up next month, starting next month all the way into May. And I'm like, I got to memorize these numbers again. Yeah. But, one thing that I've tried to teach them as much as possible is, in life, you're going to fail. Okay, there's going to be some things that don't work right. They don't work according to plan. But you have a choice. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It doesn't mean you suck.
Exactly.
It just means, hey, here's some information. Now, what am I going to do with this?
You said it really good when you said you are not a failure.
Yeah. A failure is an event, not a definition of self.
100% right.
So I should write that down.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to make a T-shirt, man. Also, you probably touched on this quite a bit as far as what marketing has been like back when you first started versus now. And I think during our small talk session, which may be on the recording because I don't know when we started, my bad. You're doing great, Matt. Keep up the great work. So how has marketing changed since you started? Any notable boom type things or
digital marketing, whether it's social, Google algorithms, Bing, Yahoo, not as important as Google, but nonetheless, and pretty much every single portion of digital marketing as a whole changes daily, weekly, or monthly. Mm-hmm. And so much has changed over the course of the past 4.5 years since I started the company.
Right.
But 2 things is, one, if you're a fellow digital marketer or someone starting your own business that will inevitably deal with marketing, it's very important to know that lots of the changes that will occur really have to do with your knowledge of digital marketing.
Right.
Because digital marketing not only changes in and of itself as its own thing, but as you grow a greater understanding of digital marketing and the many facets and avenues of that, as your understanding of it changes, how you approach it changes based on how quickly you're learning about it. Because I can tell you right now, I was talking about it during our conversation of part of my journey to this point was that, lots of the work I did and my team did when we first started out was very amateur because we just didn't have an understanding like we do now.
Right.
Back in the day, we sure as hell did not. We did not have the ability. Well, I guess we had the ability, but we didn't have the know-how to track a client's return on investment down to the cent of how much they made and how much they spent. And we were one of those companies. Like so many of the digital marketing agencies out there, most of them are scared to track those metrics because they are scared to find out whether or not they are providing a return on investment.
Right.
But as your knowledge and understanding on the various subjects that are digital marketing and make it up, it changes so much because your approach to it changes and how you handle it, the softwares you use, the people you decide to bring onto your team, or if you're a solopreneur, how you approach it individually changes. But additionally, on the other hand, how it changes as its own thing, whether it's Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the introduction of a new platform that totally destroys what your previous understanding of the industry was. Like the introduction of TikTok is huge. Right now, Clubhouse is being introduced. If you've heard of that, that's a huge platform that's only on iOS. That's really making some waves. We'll see if it becomes a mature platform or not. But these platforms change all the time. I mean, they're constantly combating fraudulent behavior on the platforms. They're combating bots. They're changing how their algorithms work. So you have to stay up to date on these platforms all the time if you want to be an effective marketer. And this is something I've said on other podcasts and I have to say all the time at work, is that each of these jobs, whether it's a Facebook advertiser or a videographer or a web designer or the SEO guy who search engine optimizes the website, and all of these positions are full-time jobs in and of themselves just because of how quickly the industry is evolving and changing on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. So,
man, I just realized, like, thinking back to even just like 5 years ago, platform wasn't even really a thing. Like these days, you have platform. It's everybody's talking about, like, they're just jamming them out like tennis balls. You know, every time you turn around, there's some new platform.
It's annoying.
It's crazy. I mean, it's almost like the rate of change has increased. Like it's accelerated. Yes, and it's wild. Sometimes I think, oh my goodness, how can anybody keep up?
Yeah.
But, sometimes we can get out in front of it and say, any of these platforms, really, at the end of the day, they're going to be looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to look out and make sure, hey, we don't lose our user base. We don't want anything taken away from the experience from what our current user base is doing. We want to make sure we're giving them what they need. And as long as you cater to those platforms and always think, okay, what's in LinkedIn's best interest, or what's in Twitter's best interest, or TikTok, what would benefit them the most? Mm-hmm. And then structure your content and your marketing strategy around that, and you'll probably be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So you probably know that already, though, but I don't know. I'm theorizing right again, because I'm not a marketer.
You could be ahead of the game in some ways, but in reality, you're always playing catch up because they always make the first move. You don't know what they're going to do till they do it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's certain, like if you have a Facebook partner and you're dedicated a rep that works at Facebook, they make you aware of the changes beforehand sometimes in some of the avenues, but lots of the times you're being reactive at best, and it sucks, but that's our jobs, and we do a damn good job of it. So
sounds like it. You at least give the perception that you know what you're doing. I trust you.
I appreciate it.
Well, what do you wish someone told you about marketing 5 years ago? If you can go back and be like, it wasn't that long ago. It's not like trying to think back from when you're almost 40. It's like, wow.
No, it's only been 4.5 years.
Yeah.
That ROI matters most. Like that's our center focus. At the end of the day, what a business owner cares about is the money they're making off their marketing, right? You can be hired by Coca-Cola to do a brand awareness campaign, but they're doing the brand awareness campaign to make money, even if it's not being even if ROI is not being directly tracked in that instance.
Right.
Someone's doing their logo because they want their company to look better so it can make more money. So even the stuff that ROI does not directly relate to, it's all about ROI at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I wish our company from the get-go would have been tracking a lot of the metrics that we track now. And so if I would talk to any marketer that is just now getting started out or feels lost like many do, or having a tough time, don't know where to focus, or they're trying too many things, I'd tell myself, my former self, or any of those new digital marketers or the lost ones that they should focus on figuring out how to track return on investment for their clients and figuring out how to advertise for them in such a way that they are making a return on investment. And if they're not doing that, that's okay. It took me a little over 2 years to get good at it, and we're still not perfect at it. Every single one of our clients that we'll say, to brag about myself, is getting a return on investment on marketing right now. But that being said, it could always be higher. It's never perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. And you're always going to have room for improvement, lots of it. What matters is the rate at which you are improving, or if you're improving at all. And so really just focus on figuring out how to provide your clients a return on investment. And if you want to keep that client, figure out a way to show them that. Because you telling them it's not good enough. If their return on investment is great and they're making a ton of money and they have no other thing to attribute it to other than your marketing, they could care less unless you are able to prove that. Even if it's clear as day to you, unless you're able to show them in black and white that, hey, here's the data, here's our proof. You're spending $2,000 a month and we're making you $300,000 over the course of 6 months off that $2,000 a month. A real life scenario for us. Unless you can show that, you will probably lose that client unless you can prove it. So figure that out.
Nice. It takes a lot of bravery to have visibility into what you're doing and being able to present that information for the exact reason you said before. Sometimes, oh my goodness, I might be shooting myself in the foot, but it sure keeps you on your toes. And if you see an example where, hey, we're not actually getting as much ROI for this particular client, and now we can do something about it. You know, you can't fix what you don't measure. So that's some really good advice, man. That's actually something on the technology side that I wish I had adopted. I had never really put much stock into like analytics and dashboards and be like, we'll just run the thing and it'll just work, right? No, they need to see like results and percentages.
You show someone they're spending $1 and making $17.50 on every dollar.
Why would they not keep you?
They having a mental lapse? Yeah. It's just common sense.
I love it. Well, that's a really good piece of advice for people. If there are people that are just starting off in marketing or they've been in the game for a bit, and I hope that's something that they take and apply.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. Well, how would people find you if they wanted to track you down and be like, this guy can probably make me some money? How would they reach out to you?
A couple ways. You can Google Garrett Atkins St. Louis. You can Google Garrett Atkins Entrepreneur. You can go to GarrettAtkins.com, or if you don't care about me at all because you find me annoying, but you find my company interesting, go to vie.media, vi.media. There is no .com. It's just vi.media.
Nice. So you're doing the cutting edge stuff. You got the dot whatever at the end.
That's right.
I got to the game late. I put
it causes a lot of confusion. It's probably not worth it, but it looks cool.
But does it give you an ROI?
Maybe I should take my own advice, I guess. But vimedia.com was not available, so there you go.
Got it. Awesome. Well, man, it's been awesome chatting with you today. I know we had a good talk on the phone a few weeks ago, and I'm like, gotta get with this guy, and now we're here, and you're everything I thought you were going to be, man.
Cool.
That's a compliment.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I enjoyed it.
Anytime. Well, thank you for having me to your studio.
Of course.
All right. Take care, man. Bye.
Bye.